Does being quiet mean you're an introvert? It's a question that has puzzled many. When we picture an introvert, we often imagine someone who is quiet, reserved, perhaps even a little shy. But is this always the case? Let's unpack this a little. Introversion, like many personality traits, is complex and multifaceted. It's not just about whether you're loud or quiet, outgoing or reserved. It's about how you recharge, how you process information, and how you engage with the world around you. Now, it's true that introverts may often prefer quieter environments. They may feel more comfortable in smaller, more intimate gatherings than in large, boisterous ones. They may prefer to express themselves in writing rather than speaking. But does that mean that every quiet person you meet is an introvert? Not necessarily. You see, quietness is not exclusive to introversion. It's perfectly possible to be an extrovert and enjoy periods of quiet. Similarly, not all introverts are quiet. There are plenty of introverts out there who are social, outgoing, and assertive. They may still need time alone to recharge, but they're not necessarily the quiet ones in the room. The key here is not to rely on stereotypes or assumptions. Introversion and extroversion exist on a spectrum, and people can fall anywhere along that spectrum. Some introverts may lean more towards the quiet side, while others may be more outgoing. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Furthermore, it's important to remember that being quiet does not equate to being shy. Shyness is about fear of social judgment. Introversion is more about how you respond to stimulation, including social stimulation. So, while some introverts may also be shy, the two are not synonymous. And being quiet can be a characteristic of an introvert, but it's not a definitive marker. Introversion is about much more than just quietness or loudness. It's a rich tapestry of traits and tendencies that make up a unique individual. So, if being quiet doesn't necessarily mean you're an introvert, what does? Let's delve deeper. Introversion isn't about being antisocial, it's about where you derive your energy from. According to the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, who first utilized the terms introvert and extrovert in the early 20th century, introversion is a personality trait that is characterized by a focus on internal feelings rather than external sources of stimulation. Introverts, as defined by Jung, are not necessarily shy or socially anxious, though they might be. Instead, introverts are individuals who prefer the world within their minds, their own inner thought processes, and their own personal experiences. They revel in solitude, introspection, and quiet environments. Psychological studies have also demonstrated that introverts respond differently to dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a role in how we experience pleasure. While extroverts are excited by the prospect of reward, introverts are more sensitive to dopamine and therefore require less of it to feel satisfied. This could elucidate why introverts are often content with quiet activities, while extroverts pursue more stimulating environments. But the key distinction of introversion lies in the concept of energy. You see, introverts and extroverts differ in how they recharge their mental and emotional batteries. Consider your social energy as a battery. For extroverts, interacting with people charges this battery. They thrive on social engagement and can feel depleted when they spend excessive time alone. Conversely, introverts recharge by spending time alone. They draw energy from solitude and introspection, and too much social interaction can drain their batteries. This doesn't imply they don't enjoy socializing or meeting new people. Rather, they just need some alone time afterwards to recharge. So, remember, being an introvert doesn't equate to being quiet or shy. It's about how you recharge and where you derive your energy from. Introverts find their strength in solitude, in the silent moments of reflection and introspection. Introvert isn't just someone who's quiet, it's someone who needs time alone to recharge. Introversion isn't a one-size-fits-all label. When it comes to introversion, we're not talking about a rigid category that neatly boxes people into a set of predictable behaviors. Instead, we're dealing with a spectrum, a wide-ranging continuum that allows for a diverse range of personalities and preferences. Picture introversion as a sliding scale with varying degrees of intensity. On one end, you might find the social introverts. These are individuals who do enjoy social interaction, but in small, manageable doses. They might be the life of the party one night, and then need a few days of solitude to recharge. They value their alone time, but they also appreciate meaningful interactions with others. A step further along the spectrum, we encounter the thoughtful introverts. These are people who spend a lot of time in their heads, pondering life's big questions or simply daydreaming. They might enjoy a good conversation, but they're just as content with their own thoughts and ideas. Moving even further, we meet the anxious introverts. These individuals may spend a lot of their time alone, not by choice, but because social interaction causes them significant stress or anxiety. They might struggle with large groups or unfamiliar situations, and so they often choose solitude as a means of self-preservation. At the far end of the spectrum, we find the restrictive introverts. These are the individuals who prefer solitude above all else. They may find social interaction draining or unfulfilling, and so they choose to spend the majority of their time alone, immersed in their own world. These categories aren't set in stone, and it's important to remember that everyone can slide along this spectrum at different times and under different circumstances. The key is to understand where you, yourself, might fall on this spectrum, and to embrace that position. It's about recognizing your own needs, your own boundaries, and your own ways of interacting with the world. Introversion is a spectrum, not a box. It's about understanding your own needs and boundaries. Let's further debunk some common myths about introverts. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions floating around about introverts, and it's high time we cleared the air. Firstly, let's tackle the big one. Introverts are shy. Now, this isn't necessarily true. Shyness and introversion are not the same thing. Shyness is about fear of social judgment. Introversion, on the other hand, is about how one responds to stimulation, including social stimulation. So, while it's true that some introverts might also be shy, there are many who are not. Next up, the belief that introverts are antisocial. This is a gross misunderstanding. Introverts are not antisocial, they're selectively social. They prefer one-on-one interactions or small groups, and they value deep and meaningful connections over small talk. They might avoid social situations, not because they dislike people, but because they prefer quality over quantity in their social interactions. Another myth is that introverts can't be leaders or public speakers. This couldn't be further from the truth. Many introverts are great leaders and public speakers. They might prepare thoroughly and reflect deeply, which can result in insightful and inspirational communication. Then there's the notion that introverts don't like to talk. Wrong again. Introverts just don't talk for the sake of talking. They prefer discussions with substance and depth, rather than idle chit-chat. Lastly, the idea that introverts lack social skills. This is a stereotype that needs to be put to rest. Introverts can be just as socially adept as extroverts. They might take a little longer to warm up in social situations, but that doesn't mean they can't hold their own when they need to. Introverts are far from these one-dimensional stereotypes. They are a diverse group with a wide range of personalities, preferences, and skills. They can be shy or outgoing, leaders or followers, talkative or quiet. They can excel in social situations or prefer their own company. So remember, introverts are far more complex and varied than these stereotypes suggest. As we always say, introversion isn't a weakness, it's just a different way of experiencing the world. Let's take a moment to consider that statement. We live in a society that often values extroversion, loud voices, and the ability to command a room. But introversion, with its quiet reflection and thoughtful consideration, is just as valuable. It's not a matter of better or worse, it's simply different. Introverts often have an incredible ability to listen. It's not just about being silent while others talk, it's about truly hearing and understanding what's being said. It's about picking up on the unspoken words, the emotions and thoughts that lie beneath the surface. This level of deep listening is a gift, and it's something that introverts should be proud of. Another strength that introverts often possess is their depth of thought. While extroverts may thrive on quick, rapid-fire conversation, introverts excel in areas that require deep, thoughtful consideration. They have the ability to dive deep into a subject, to explore it from different angles, and to come up with insightful conclusions. This type of thinking can lead to innovative ideas and creative solutions. So, in conclusion, if you identify as an introvert, it's time to embrace your introversion. It's time to understand that your quietness isn't a weakness, but a strength. It's time to stop comparing yourself to extroverts and start appreciating your own unique abilities and strengths. And if you're an extrovert, or if you simply know and love an introvert, it's time to understand and respect their introversion. It's time to see the value in their quietness, their listening skills, and their depth of thought. It's time to appreciate them for who they are, not who society thinks they should be. So, let's celebrate introversion. Let's celebrate the quiet thinkers, the deep listeners, the thoughtful observers. Because introversion isn't about being quiet, it's about knowing yourself and where you draw your energy from. And that's something to be celebrated.